There are 9 things you can do to save a whole lot of money in your household as well. Exactly how it works and what you definitely need to keep in mind, I'll show you in this video. And with the first trick, I've already helped more than 1 million people save a lot of money. Because if the water in your faucet isn't draining properly because it's a little bit or even completely clogged, then a plastic bottle can help you and you won't have to call a plumber. To do this, fill this plastic bottle halfway with water. Now turn on the faucet so that your sink is nice and full of water again. Also, press a damp cloth into the upper overflow hole of the sink. After all, we don't want to just push the water out here at the top, but through the drain pipe. For this, you should completely shut off the faucet. Now quickly firmly position the bottle to the drain and give it several strong squeezes so that the pressure pushes the water from the bottle into the drain. Because by doing that, as you can see here, the blockage is cleared and the water drains completely on its own again, and you can save yourself the plumber. Another way to save a whole lot of money is the dishwasher. Because if you have a dishwasher too, you probably turn it on every day or maybe every few days and use a dishwasher tab like this. However, in most cases, a whole dishwasher tab is way too much. You can really quickly and easily cut it in the middle and thus halve it. By the way, it really does not matter at all if it actually stays in one half or happens to crumble into several pieces. Because the only thing that you really need to do now is just put half of the dishwasher tab, either as a whole half or in smaller individual pieces, into your dishwasher. Because this amount is completely sufficient for the dishwasher and you can save half the money that way too. By the way, it only gets even cheaper if you use dishwasher powder instead of dishwasher tabs. This is actually significantly cheaper than the tabs, and you can of course dose it much better and more easily. For the next trick to save a lot of money, you just need a string. Either from a pair of pants, for example, or even better from your shoes. Because if you carefully take this shoelace out now, hold it exactly as you see me doing here so that there's a small loop at the top and one side of the string is significantly longer than the other. Then you can wrap the short side twice from behind around the other string. I'll try to do it a bit slower for you here so you can clearly see exactly how it works. So I've wrapped it around the first time and I'm repeating the whole thing one more time. This creates this little loop that you can see right here now, which is exactly what we need for the next step. And it's exactly through this that you should now push the end of the string. Because once you've done that, you have a knot that is adjustable. This essentially means that you can very easily adjust the loop right here. And that is exactly what is so important for this trick to work properly. Now with this, you should go to an open window or an open patio door. Because we apply this trick from the outside and there's a very specific reason for that, as you'll see in a moment. Because in my case, it's now the tilted door. With the loop, I'm now going around the door handle, which in this case is still pointing upwards since the door is open. That means I can wrap it around here very easily. Once it's around, I can then pull the loop tight so that the band doesn't slip off of it anymore. Now, I am going to continue feeding the band all the way along the very top edge of the window frame until I finally see the band coming out on the other side. Because now you can simply pull the door or the window completely shut, and then you should very carefully start pulling the band on the other side while moving it slightly downwards in a steady motion. Because by doing that, you manage to move the door handle to the middle position over time and can then open the door quite easily. With this method, you can save yourself a locksmith if you ever lock yourself out and there's no one there who can open the door for you from the inside. Another thing that can cost you a whole lot of money is when your kitchen drain is clogged. Because we cook here, and so small amounts of food scraps end up in the drain every now and then, for example when washing dishes, this can happen quickly. But there's a brilliant trick for this too, how you can clear this blockage really quickly, easily and cheaply. All you need for this is dish soap. But it shouldn't just be a small amount of this, but rather a somewhat larger amount. You'll see why in a moment. I'm now carefully pouring almost half a bottle of the dish soap into the kitchen sink drain right here. Because it really should be this significant quantity of soap for this trick to work. Once this large amount is in the drain, the next step follows. Because now you should press the plug into the drain in such a way that it's completely closed in order to then let the water run. What we want to achieve with this is that our sink gets filled up really nicely with water. This should be completely hot, by the way. So turn the faucet to the hottest setting and let it fill up properly now. The important thing here, of course, is that you can open the sink plug from the outside so that you don't burn your fingers. Because if you open it now, you'll notice after a short while that the water drains away faster and faster until it's completely gone from the sink. With this amount of dish soap, you can really dissolve all kinds of dirt from your drain, and it will simply escape, allowing the water to flow out normally again. By the way, manufacturers want to keep the next money-saving tricks a secret from you. If you have one of those air fresheners for rooms, you probably always buy those expensive refill packs too. Instead, you can also just use a cheap deodorant from the discount store. If you open up this container and carefully remove the little nipple at the top, you can now take this nipple from the original bottle, securely place it right on here, slide the whole thing back into the package, close it, and thus always delight your room with a fresh scent. But since not everyone finds a deodorant they like the smell of, I have another absolutely brilliant tip for you to try. Because if you have a fragrance plug like this for the outlet, you can just take it out of the outlet and open and pull off this little part at the top. Now you should buy a replacement stick like this. They're available cheaply at the discount store to stick it in here. At least if your original stick already looks quite yellow. Because now you can simply buy room diffuser oil like this in any discount store for incredibly little money, fill it in here, put the stick back in, screw the whole thing shut, and plug it into the outlet. This is much cheaper than those expensive refill packs. It's the same with soap like this. There's a little secret trick for these that you need to know, because if you just pull it out like this, you'll notice that the cap doesn't come off very easily. You'll need a lot of strength and some pliers to pry it off from the side. Because these two tabs prevent you from just twisting it off, which the manufacturers don't really want. That's why you have to cut off both of these tabs completely. Now you can open and close the cap at any time you might need to, and it's incredibly simple and straightforward. This way, you can just pour in cheap soap and keep a significant amount of extra money in your pocket. The device works exactly the same way it did before, but you only pay a third for the soap because you bought these refill packs. I have two more incredibly clever tricks on how you can save money with a rubber band. Because if you have a normal soap dispenser like this one, you know how it is, you always press it all the way down and a certain amount of soap comes out. You can also influence that quite a bit, and all you need for it is a simple rubber band. Because you can grab it now and wrap it around this little mechanism at the top. Of course, the rubber band doesn't just fit around it easily, so you have to wrap it around several times so that it sits perfectly and nice and tight around this area. The advantage is that you've now blocked a certain part of the soap dispenser with this method. Once you've wrapped it around a few times, you can press it down again so that the rubber band is only at the bottom end. The main benefit is that whenever you press down on the soap dispenser now, only half the soap will come out, which is still more than enough for washing your hands. This way you can naturally save half of your soap. And you can do all that without having to give up soap, because the cleansing effect will still be exactly the same. And you can also use a rubber band on your faucet by simply putting it around the handle like this. You have to make sure you find the right length for it, because if you turn on the faucet now, it will stay on, of course. But if you turn it on too far, it will automatically close again. This way, you can ensure you don't waste too much water, which is especially helpful if you have kids who always turn the faucet on all the way. If you want to learn 13 more incredible life hacks that everyone should know but almost no one does, then watch the video you see on the screen now. Go ahead and click right on the icon.